Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on creating an effective marketing strategy. I'm Boris Krepag, the business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County, and I'll be your host. Our webinar coordinator is Budley Freund, who is a SCORE business mentor as well. Our presenter today is Peter Engstrom. More on Peter in just a minute. I'd like to give you some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide organization affiliated with Small Business Administration and with 320 offices and 11,000 plus volunteers nationwide. Our Fairfield County SCORE has about over 130 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We offer 3 primary value-added services to small business owners. All our services are free of charge. The first is one-on-one counseling, face-to-face, telephone, email, video, which can be accessed via a request mentor link on our website or via a link on the screen. Please note that we are not doing face-to-face mentoring until further notice. Second is educational workshops and webinars, over 150 per year. And the third is extensive resources on our website, including a network subject matter experts at your disposal. Please note that due to the national COVID-19 pandemic, we're in the process of converting some of our canceled in-person workshops to live webinars. Look for the specifics on our fairfieldcounty.score.org website. If you have any question, please use the chat window at any time during the presentation. It's located in the lower part of your screen. I would like to also mention that Q&A part will be actually done at the end of this webinar, and in event if we don't answer all the questions, please email our presenter and he will respond to your email within 24 hours. Our webinar will end at 1 p.m. to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available at fairfieldcounty.score.org within the next couple of days. Now, some bio information on our presenter. Peter Engstrom is a founder and former COO of Schmersel USA and Stute Meditech, Inc. He's been helping small and business-sized industrial firms increase their marketing effectiveness and grow sales since 1981. Other notable clients include Eaton, Opcon, Electrobird, Unimax Switch, and Panasonic. Peter also serves as a adjunct professor at Sacred Heart's College of Business and a SCORE volunteer. He presents marketing strategy module at Simple Steps program and a workshop on branding. Now, without further ado, I will turn now to Peter Engstrom. Peter, it's all yours.
Boris, thank you so much for that very kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our program on creating an effective marketing strategy. In the next 45 minutes, I'd like to share with you the importance of this key business element in your success efforts. I'd like to help you identify the key elements of the strategy, how to define them, and most importantly, the importance and power of differentiation in your strategy. So without any further ado, I would like to move right into the presentation on what is a marketing strategy. When I do this live, I usually have a show of hands of how many people in the audience are entrepreneurs versus, working in the corporate world. I imagine the majority of you on the program today are probably starting or existing entrepreneurs. But whether you have or have not worked in the corporate world, you're probably familiar with statements such as the ones you see on your screen now. Our goal as a company is to double our sales in the next 5 years. Our goal is to increase our market share by X% in the next 3 years. These are statements that you'll often find in businesses, and I pose the question to you, are these truly marketing strategies? And if not, why not? I profess that they are not really marketing strategies, and the reason is that they don't define how the organization is going to achieve their goal of being successful. It doesn't answer the questions of what are the marketing decisions and the related tools we need to put in place that we need to pursue and implement in order to achieve our goal. So I like to look at marketing strategy as a roadmap. Those of you who are familiar with the New York Yankees, there was a famous spokesperson for them who was their catcher. His name was Yogi Berra. And he was credited with this famous statement, which I really like, and that is, if you don't know where you're going, you're probably going to end up someplace else. And that's why I think marketing strategy is so important, because I look at marketing strategy as a roadmap, bring you from where you are now to where you'd like to be to achieve your successful goals. But instead of roads and distances and turns, our roadmap consists of a set of marketing choices and related actions that you're going to make individually in your enterprise in the face of your competition to help your business grow and prosper. And a little graphic here on this slide shows your competition as the X's and you as the O's. And it's carefully crafted so you're not bumping into your competitors, but you're moving around them. And hopefully in the next 45 minutes, we'll talk about ways that you can do that without having to compete directly with them on the most famous competitive parameter, and that is price. So what are these choices that you have to make and should make in order to formulate your marketing strategy? I believe your marketing strategy consists of the following choices. What is your product or service? That's a given. You've already made that decision or in the process of making that decision as to what product or service you wish to offer to the marketplace. The next important thing to identify is who's your competition, both direct and indirect. Most importantly is what is your competitive advantage over your competition, and equally important is what are the benefits related to that advantage. And we're going to talk a lot about that in the next 45 minutes. Having defined your product and service and your competition and your competitive advantages and its unique benefits, we move on to identifying who are our target customers. I'm going to give you a definition of who those target customers should be. Having chosen your customers, we'll look at promotional venues and sales channels to reach those customers. And we'll talk a little bit about pricing, because I think that's an important element of your marketing strategy. And I'll say this now, and I'll probably repeat it again in the course of our time together. Low price is not an effective marketing strategy. And we'll talk about the reasons why. Part of the presentation, if you visit it online, will be this summary, what I call a marketing strategy summary. It looks like we've identified an awful lot of things you're going to have to write down. As you go through each of these on your own at the conclusion of the seminar in the next several weeks, it's just a tool. This little chart is a tool to allow you to capture these elements of your marketing strategy very, very succinctly. You do that really, really well, you'll be able to fit your entire marketing strategy on this 8.5 by 11 sheet. So it'll be accessible to you at the conclusion of the webinar if you just download this slide in your presentation. Well, let's talk about differentiation for a minute, because I think, for several minutes, because I think it's the most desirable attribute of any effective marketing strategy. It should be a unique competitive feature that differentiates you from your competitors that you have defined by the product or service you'll be offering. And it should have related to it benefits, because customers, as you know, do not buy features. They buy the expectation of benefits. So articulating those benefits is a very, very critical part of your strategy. And ideally, your differentiating feature should be something to which your major competitors cannot or will not respond. I mentioned that I don't think price is a good marketing strategy, and the reason for that is it's something to which your competitors can and easily respond to. If you come out with a lower price today, they can come out with a price below yours tomorrow and disseminate it in minutes on the internet. So that's why I say I don't believe low prices or pricing is a very, very good competitive strategy. Well, what do I mean by something that your competitors will not or cannot respond to? And I like to try to illustrate that by talking about the cola wars, which I think most of you have heard about. Cola wars is a term that was coined about 1980, but the cola wars go back much, much earlier than that. And I'd like to share with you one of the battles in that cola war to kind of define what I mean by differentiation and choosing a differentiating factor to which your competitors cannot or will not respond. Back in about 1939, 1940, of course, Coca-Cola was the major leader in the cola market. They were recognized not only by the name Coca-Cola, but by this iconic 6.5-inch bottle, which was a key element of their branding strategy. Some of you may be familiar with it. I'm kind of dating myself by bringing it up, but it was a very, very key element of their brand. Over the course of this 6.5-ounce bottle's history, they manufactured more than 6 billion of these bottles. And they were using them again until about 1980, when they first came out with a larger bottle. This was a 6.5-ounce bottle of Coke that sold for a nickel. And in 1940, their annual advertising budget was 15 million. How was Pepsi or the other cola manufacturers going to compete against this juggernaut? Well, what Pepsi did was they attacked Coke at what Coke thought was their greatest strength, this 6.5-ounce bottle that they sold for a nickel. They came out with a 12-ounce bottle. They had an advertising budget of only $600,000 compared to 15 million for Coca-Cola. And they came up with a jingle that went with the 12-ounce bottle. I'll sing it for you, and those of you who recognize it can sing along. It went like this: Pepsi Cola hits the spot. 12 full ounces, that's a lot. Twice as much for a nickel too. Pepsi Cola is the drink for you. I understand that this is the first advertising jingle in advertising history. The result of this, Coca-Cola could not react to a 12-ounce bottle. It was impractical for them to scale up their present 6.5-ounce bottle. And they had a huge investment in bottles and vending machines that vended these bottles, and in the bottle handling and packaging equipment that got them to market. What happened was the buyers in 1939, 1940, a nickel was a lot, and they went for quantity. In the next 5 years, Pepsi became the #2 Coca-Cola cola supply, #2 to Coca-Cola, and the second largest supplier of cola drinks in the United States, passing both Royal Crown and Dr. Pepper, who were ahead of them at the time. So you can understand here by this example a differentiating factor to which your competition cannot or will not respond to. Coke just couldn't do anything about this. So for your product and or service, I encourage you to try to find some way to differentiate your product or service from your direct competition. something that I call the USP, the unique selling proposition. And once you identify, then try to verbalize it and its benefits for the customer in every piece of sales or marketing programs that you do. It gives your target customers a reason to want to buy from you, a very unique reason. So why is differentiation so important? Some of the reasons that it's so important is that in many of your product or service markets, consumers typically have more choices than they can comfortably handle. Products which don't stand out for some differentiating factor get lost in the pack. Companies need to give customers the tools they need when making their purchasing decisions to draw them to your product or service. If you stay in the shadow of your competition without a differentiating factor, you'll never establish your differences and you'll get lost in the mix. Your differences become your competitive advantage. When you offer a unique feature and a related benefit, you move the purchasing focus away from price and towards value. And this is one of the real benefits of having a differentiating factor. Use it in each piece of promotion. It must say, buy this product and you will get the specific benefit. And remember again that customers do not buy products, they buy the expectation of benefits. The differentiation gives the customer reason to choose you because of the value you're offering, not because you're offering a lower price. The benefits of your differentiation will be that you'll be able to get a higher price and have more money to reinvest in your marketing and growth programs. So you say, how do I differentiate? What are the ways that I might find in my product or service to differentiate myself from the competition? Of course, there's unique product features and their related benefits. That's the most obvious one, and we're going to look at some of those in the next few minutes. Another is unique or exceptional customer service. Although I must admit in today's marketplace, good quality and good customer service are really givens. If you don't have those, we're probably not going to be a very effective competitor. But there are such things as exceptional quality or exceptional perceived quality. And we'll look at a little bit of examples of that as we go on. Some companies offer an extended warranty. Their competitors offer 3 months or 6 months. They offer 1 year or 2 years, which says we have so much confidence in the quality of our product, we're willing to stand behind it for a much longer period of time. Some use unique sales channels, making it easy for the customer to access their product. There are hundreds of thousands of competitors now advertising on Amazon because it's such an easy way to get the product, order it, get it delivered, and pay for it in a few clicks of a mouse. Free or fast delivery. Again, I use Amazon as an example. They're one of the reasons they're so successful with over 300 billion transactions. Special services that may be unique to your business or to your service that you offer. Packaging. If we were in a room right now, I'd show you a blue Robin's Eggs box with a white bow on it. And I'd ask if you recognize this box. Many of you will recognize it as Tiffany's standard package from their jewelry store. It's just an icon that separates them with their packaging consistency. Also, there's special qualifications your business may have, like licenses, awards, permits, professional affiliations, recognition by some professional group, training that you offer, or as I said before, earlier guarantees. These are just some of the ways that may help you look at your product or service and find a way to differentiate yourself. Make a decision that this would be a differentiator that would allow you to differentiate with advantage. I'd like to share with you 7 successful differentiation strategies, again, to emphasize what we mean by this parameter. One of the most successful is to be first. A contemporary example of that is Tesla, the first electric car in the world. Getting into the mind of the buyer first with a new idea, product, or benefit is an enormous competitive advantage. It creates the perception of knowledge and expertise in your field. And any copycat measures subsequent to your introduction and you're establishing yourself as the leader, reinforce your idea. So your competitors become people who help you move along your product or service because of your expertise. and it forces later entrants into the market to find their own USP in order to differentiate themselves in the electric vehicle market. A second successful differentiation strategy is owning an attribute, which is a distinctive feature of your product. It should be something simple and benefit-oriented. Two classic examples are 7-Up when they came out with the Uncola. How could Coke or Pepsi or all the cola manufacturers compete with that? They were not an Uncola. And it helped 7-Up to position themselves in the soft drink market in a very, very unique way. BMW gets exceptional prices for their vehicles by selling the ultimate driving machine. And again, this is just an attribute that they own. And they spent $1 million promoting it and becoming identified with it. Another successful strategy is to be the leader. It's the most direct way to establish your credentials. It guarantees the performance of your product simply by having the largest market share. Classical examples of leadership are in copiers, Xerox; in chocolate, at least in the United States, Hershey's; in ketchup, Heinz. Heinz has another equally powerful differentiating strategy, which we'll get to in a minute. Another way to differentiate is to specialize in your market. Specialists are perceived as being more knowledgeable and more experienced, where generalists are really associated with any expertise. Two classical examples are Foot Locker in athletic shoes and Victoria's Secret in women's lingerie and undergarments. They've really narrowed down their offering to specialize and becomes perceived as the experts. Another way is to have a very long history. Heritage has the power of making a company or product stand out. A long history has the psychological importance, as it makes people more secure in their choice of you because of your long history. It also gives the impression that your customers are dealing with a leader because you've been in business for so long. Geico is a current example of their 75 years of savings and service as positioning itself in their latest marketing campaign. Another successful strategy is to be the preferred supplier. People are more likely to purchase a product other people think is the correct one to buy. This is called preference. Tylenol, for example, is the pain reliever that hospitals prefer. Science diet, pet food, veterinarian recommended, and Sensodyne toothpaste, dentist's #1 recommendation for sensitive teeth. These are just ways of positioning themselves with a differentiating strategy to their target market. Another way is to make your products special in a special way. Focus on a unique design attribute or process or technology and its benefits. It distinguishes yourself in the marketplace and lets you create a reason for buyers to choose you. Two popular examples are Apple with their proprietary operating system. Once they get accustomed to be an Apple customer, they pretty much have them for life. And Crest, when they came out with the first fluoride, they put a name on it. They called it Fluoristan. And they were perceived as the leaders in providing fluoride cavity protection. Again, to emphasize what I mean by differentiation, I'd like to share a couple of popular examples of competitors in the same industry, but who are completely differentiated from one another by their message. Everyone knows about McDonald's, their worldwide establishment of fast food hamburgers, which provides pre-cooked frozen burgers served in a minute or two. One of their major competition, and this is a geographic one out on the West Coast, is a company called In-N-Out Burger. What they sell is fresh burgers, never frozen, cooked to order. So when you go into an In-N-Out Burger, you know you're going to be there waiting for your order for at least 5 or 10 minutes. And all they order is burgers, cooked your way, with your choice of extras: onions, pickles, lettuce, tomato, rare or well done, served on a fresh bun, and French fries, and an array of fountain drinks. That's all they offer. And they have carved out a very, very large niche. They do over $560 million a year with about 340 locations, most of them in California. And normally, they locate themselves in the same geographic proximity as McDonald's, because McDonald's has already done a lot of research on foot traffic and motor traffic in high traffic areas. So they normally are very, very close by geographically, maybe across the street. Another example of two companies in the same industry that sell a functionally similar product, but in two different ways. Here in America, Mack Trucks are well known as one of the largest manufacturers of heavy-duty trucks. Their target market are large fleet operators, where the trucks themselves are a major part of their capital investment. So what they do is they offer a variety of standard models, which they produce in high volume in order to get the costs down. Peterbilt, on the other hand, their target customer is the individual owner-operator, where the truck is their home away from home. They offer trucks that are made to order with custom features such as plush leather seats, unique sound systems, and luxurious sleeper cabins. That's the area behind the driver's seat. They historically get a premium price for their product, and their gross margins are typically 15 to 20% higher than Mack Trucks. So they've carved out a huge niche, a very nice, profitable niche in a market dominated by a giant that makes trucks in very high volume. I believe that a good marketing strategy, such as the ones I've illustrated, is the antidote to competition. It enables you to satisfy the needs of your target customers, who we will talk about in a minute, more effectively and more profitably than other suppliers. The good news is that in many markets, there are customers who are underserved. In other words, they're buying a product, it really doesn't do what they want, but it does some of what they want. Or they're overserved. In order to get what they want, they're buying a product that does much more than they need. When you can compete on a unique product that's aimed at a target market, you're adding value to the market, appealing to some of these underserved and overserved customers, as well as a new group of people who were not buying because they couldn't find what they wanted. So there's really room for everybody. So when you find ways to differentiate, you're really expanding the existing market. You're not necessarily just competing head to head in order to steal business from the existing supplier. I'd like to talk for a minute about brand identity, because I think it's an important part of any marketing strategy, and it's not just for the big guys. Those of you in our audience today who are entrepreneurs, starting out small businesses, it is possible to develop your own brand identity. And I think it can be an important and powerful part of your long-term marketing strategy. What does a brand do for you? Well, number one, once you start promoting it and you have a logo design and a brand name, it creates awareness, an easy tool for being reminded of who you are. It makes a promise about your brand, because your service or product becomes closely associated with the ultimate product or service that the customer will be buying. Over time, it tells a story about your company, your quality, your service, your reputation. It becomes very recognizable over time, and oftentimes it solicits unconscious emotions about your product and your service. And finally, over time, it does generate loyalty, where people will look for your brand in the store or on the road, and that's where they want to stop to make their purchase. Here's some familiar national and international brands I'm sure you're all aware of. If I had you in a class right now, I'd ask you to write down the 4 companies associated with these brands. And I don't think any of you would have any trouble identifying who they are. Starbucks, Mr. Peanut, Planters, Mr. Clean, and of course, McDonald's. They don't even need their name in order to be identified. But they're not just for the big companies. I've put up on the screen here some very local brands. I'm in Fairfield County, Connecticut, and we have a lot of small businesses who've become successful that do have a very, very unique personal brand identity. One of them is a company called Mr. Mailbox. They've been in business since 2003. And what they offer is a mailbox for residences. Now, if you go to the hardware store to buy a mailbox, and almost all of you who own a home have done so at some point or another, you probably paid something around $24.95 or $29.95 for a mailbox, and maybe, oh, I don't know, $10 or $12 for a 2x4 to mount it on. Mr. Mailbox sells his mailboxes for $129 and a cedar post for $100. And he sells them. He's busy. If you go to call him today, you'll probably have a 3 or 4 week lead time before he can come out and install your mailbox. Why does he get so much for his mailbox? Well, number one, the metal that they make them from is a much heavier gauge than what you would get at a hardware store. They're more robust. They're bulletproof. He sells mailboxes that he guarantees will tolerate a baseball bat or some teenager setting off a cherry bomb in your mailbox. He has mailboxes that open from both sides for your convenience. I have a mailbox from Mr. Mailbox. When I open the door, there's a little tray that slides out. I can pull it out and access the contents of it without having to reach in to the mailbox where there may reside a spider or worse. And I was delighted to pay $129 plus $129 for his post to buy a mailbox from him. It's got it's engraved with my address on it that I asked him to put on it. And he's got a very, very unique niche. And as I said, at any time of the year, he's got at least a 3-week or 4-week backlog. There's also another local business called The Little Pub. It's a small chain of restaurants, started out in 2009. And all I offer is comfort food: hamburgers, hot dogs, sandwiches, meatloaf, soups, salads. They started with 1 location in 2009. They now have 6. And every time I drive by one of their establishments, their parking lot, no matter what time of day it is, they open at 11 in the morning, they close at 11 at night. Their parking lot is always full. They offer quality food, quality comfort food at a very, very fair price and good portions. And the third example is a little company that's been in business since 2002, a company called Whistle Stop. It's a small bakery at a railroad station on our spur line that serves the Danbury to Norwalk route, where they pick up the main line that goes into New York City. They open every day at 5:30. They close at 1 p.m. They only sell fresh baked goods, pies, donuts, breads, muffins, which they've now branched out and sell them through retail stores as well. But everything they buy there is fresh baked. What they don't sell at the end of the day, they donate to the local food kitchens. And they, as I said, they've been in business now for almost 20 years. And there are people waiting when they open up at 5:30 in the morning, so they can get their goods while they're still warm. Once you've identified your unique selling proposition, how you're going to differentiate, the next important part of your strategy is to define who are my ideal customers. I propose to you that your ideal customers are those people who understand and appreciate your unique selling proposition. They're willing to pay a premium for that unique value. And if you can identify them, there are many, many parameters that will help you identify your target customer group: their age range, their gender, their level of education, their ethnicity, their income range, their geographic location. Maybe you're a local business. For example, I said when you identify your product, you should identify it very succinctly. If you were a painter, just saying I'm a painter, saying a painter is not enough. You could say I'm a house painter. That kind of narrows it down and gets you out of the commercial market. But you could say I'm a residential house painter, homeowners only, and I only do interior painting. It starts to narrow down your marketplace and let you focus your message. Maybe a parameter is marital status. Maybe a parameter is kids. Do they have kids or not? Home ownership may be another parameter. Pet owners. If you're selling pet foods, you certainly want to be sure that they own a pet, hopefully the kind of pet that you offer a food for. Maybe they're fashion conscious. Maybe you pick them by the industry they're in or their job title. There are many, many parameters to help you define very, very succinctly the demographics of your target customers. And I think that's a very, very important parameter as you move through the development of your marketing strategy. An exercise well worth taking is sitting down and saying, who are my target customers? If you can define them very, very, very succinctly, your target customers, it makes it much, much easier to select your promotional venues, because you certainly want to deliver your marketing or sales message to the people who will value that message the most. And it not only lets you rifle shoot those target customers with your marketing venues, but it also lets you use your marketing dollars much more effectively and efficiently. And each of you, I'm sure, has a budget, a marketing budget that's smaller than you'd like it to be. So you'd like to find a way to use it more as efficiently as possible. Once you've chosen your marketing venues that reach your target market customers, the next thing to do is, your message, your message, your differentiating message, and your target customers. The next thing you need to do is choose where you're going to spend your limited advertising dollars. Of course, we have the traditional venues, print advertising in newspapers and magazines, billboard advertising, direct mail, TV and radio, trade shows as a way of getting to your audience very vertically. Referrals are a great form of promotion. People you've successfully sold to are willing to recommend you. And then, of course, there are the more contemporary venues for promoting, and ones that most of you are familiar with. Of course, the most obvious one is the website. Those of you who are entrepreneurs, I strongly encourage, if you are going to have a business, whatever it is, whether it's a product or service, you must have a website. It's an essential ingredient to selling. And today, with the tools that are available, you can build and create your own website in a couple of days, very, very cost effectively. Email is a very, very effective way of getting your message to your target customers. You can rent mailing lists that are aimed at your very, very specific demographic group of people. Social media like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn are also very, very cost-effective ways to get your marketing message to your customers. Facebook is no longer just a social media. It has a very, very powerful tool for getting the customers very, very cost-effectively. I encourage you to do videos if you can. Demonstrating your product effectively gets your unique benefit across visually. It's a very, very powerful way of getting your sales message across cost effectively in a very, very short period of time. It's amazing what you can do with a 30-minute, well-structured video. And of course, webinars are very, very powerful content to educate your customers to your product and its unique benefits as part of your differentiating and marketing scheme. Those of you who have been in sales for a while are familiar with the sales funnel, which is on the left of this screen. It starts at the top where you identify a large group of target customers by your demographics, and you market to them. I call it fishing with a net. You have identified your unique selling proposition, your target customers, and your venues, and you advertise them to that large group at the top of this funnel. Hopefully, your message is effective and it stimulates some interest amongst some of them. So the audience narrows a little bit because some of them fall away because they've read your message and it doesn't resonate with them, or they have no need for it. But there are those who will express an interest and indicate that interest by sending you, picking up the phone or sending you a note or sending you an email saying, we saw your ad, we're interested, and now it's your job to nurture them. Bring them along further, understand their problem and their needs. And if you do that effectively, of course, some of them you'll be able to help, some of them you won't. Some of them won't be willing to pay the price maybe that you need to get in order to deliver your product or service. But the bottom line is some of them will fall out and will buy from you. That's called lead conversion. And now you have a group of customers who will refer you to others and who you can go back to and maybe upsell or resell at a later date. More recently, in the last couple of years, they've turned the sales funnel upside down on the right-hand part of your screen. And they're offering the marketplace or suppliers something called account-based marketing, which I like to think of as fishing with a spear. What they've done here is turn the funnel upside down. Instead of going to a very large group of demographic customers, they identify a very, very specific group of customers by name, residence, or industry, who they feel will get great value from their unique selling proposition. And then through a series of non-intrusive emails, social media contacts, marketing messages online, webinars, they will try to reach those people and those accounts and nurture them, ultimately to account conversion. And this has become a very, very popular B2B tool for reaching their target customers, especially in light of the situation we're faced with the pandemic, where it's very, very hard to get in to see people with your sales message. Once you've gotten the people to say, I want to buy, you've got to give them a way to get to your product. And this is where sales and distribution become an important part of your marketing strategy. How will you get your product to your customers? Many of you small businesses will probably sell direct, maybe even online, where people can place an order, give you their credit card, and you'll ship it out directly from your local facility. But other tools available to you, depending upon the product or service, are independent sales reps, stocking distributors who will purchase and put your product in stock locally. Retailers, of course, powerful. Online, I mentioned Amazon. You might have your own e-tailing website where people can come to your website, look at your product, place an order right there on your website, and get an order acknowledgement. You'll ship it out the next day. So these are some of the tools that you can use to get your product, once you've converted a customer, from you to them. One of the things that I just want to point out, depending upon which channel you choose, it will have an impact on your costs and your pricing. Even if you choose e-tailing, you must maintain that website, keep it vibrant, keep it fresh, keep adding new products. So it's going to require human resources and ongoing expense. It will become a part of your marketing expense. Talk for a minute about costs and pricing, because I know this is a key element of whether or not you'll be successful. I'm often criticized for this statement, but I do stand behind it, and that is your costs have nothing to do with your selling price. Let me take a moment to repeat that, as some of you may tune out. Your costs have nothing to do with your selling price. It's very, very important to know what your product costs are, but they only represent the lowest price at which you can sell your product without losing money. So they're the bottom line. Pricing is a function of several factors. Of course, your costs are a major one, but they're also it's also a factor of what are your competitors' prices. How do you go to market? What does that add to your selling costs? How unique is your product? As I said before, if you have a very unique product, you can get a premium price. And the uniqueness may be real, or it may be perceived. You know, is a BMW really a better car than a Volkswagen? It's perceived as being a better car. For that, they get a very, very high premium in price. And of course, supply and demand is another important part of what your prices can be. If there's a very, very high supply and a very, very low demand, your pricing is not going to be very aggressive. I remember when I first started consulting, I didn't know how to price my time. And one of my clients came to me and said, Peter, price your time very, very competitively. And as you get busy and you're busier full time, you can raise your prices. As the demand for your services grows, the value for it will go up and you'll be able to get better prices. It was one of the best pieces of marketing advice I had from a client when I was first starting out. And it served me well, as did that client for many, many years. Another element of pricing is how do you want to be perceived based on your pricing? I think we all know as consumers, we're conditioned to believe you get what you pay for. I certainly am. And I'd like to just talk about the message that your price sends unconsciously to the marketplace with this little graph that I've presented on the screen here. In the middle of the screen is the leader. I define the leader as a person having the largest market share, thus enabling them to establish the pricing and performance norms for his category of product or service. Other people who enter that arena with him posture around the leader, either as a prestige or performance competitor, offering a higher price or higher performance or more value, or an economy or price competitor, or offering a lower performance or lower price than the leader. And the only reason for this slide is that there, in each of your marketplaces, there probably is someone who is perceived as the leader. And your pricing relative to that leader, without them knowing anything else about your product or service, is going to send a message about your posture. If it's well below the leader, their knee-jerk reaction is going to be, it probably doesn't offer the same value or performance. If it's priced above the leader, their knee-jerk reaction is probably going to be that they should probably take a look at what value or performance feature you offer that justifies that incremental price increase. So I just wanted to make you aware of that knee-jerk reaction. You should continuously assess your pricing. No matter how long you've been in business, competitors will change prices, the demographics of your market may change, the marketplace may change. Continually compare your pricing and evaluate it versus the competition and your selling proposition. Always strive to ensure value to your customer. And again, as a final reminder, lowest price is not a sustainable strategy. So now we've talked about the elements of your marketing plan, your product or service, your unique selling proposition versus your competition, target customers, your promotional venues, sales channels, and your pricing. When you pull all these elements together, you should put together a marketing plan that has objectives. And I call them SMART objectives. They should be specific. They should be measurable. They should be assignable. Who's going to be responsible for them? They should be realistic. Don't give yourself objectives that are unobtainable in the time frame, and they should be time-based. So as you're putting your marketing objectives and your plan together, and we're going to look at what a plan looks like, so you'd know what I mean by objectives. But some objectives that are measurable are your sales revenue, number of sales calls made, your number of catalog requests. You notice these are all quantitative: number of customer inquiries, number of proposal requests, number of quotations made, number of demonstrations, number of samples, completion of a website. If you don't have a website, give yourself an objective of having a website completed in the next, say, 3 or 4 months. Put a timeline on and assign it to somebody. If you're a sole proprietor, that's probably going to be you. Maybe it's completion of a sales brochure or completion of your first online promotion. These are some measurable objectives. And this is what a finished marketing plan might look like. On the left is your action. Let's say build or launch or update your website. And you say, we're starting now, we're going to have it completed by December 31st. And we're going to launch in January 1. That's our launch date. So that's got to be completed by then. Maybe it's a sales brochure, which you need to have completed as part of your pre-launch phase. Then you're going to do your first email blast. You're going to market, Q1. Maybe you're going to initiate, and you're going to continue that through, maybe do another one in Q3. Make your initial 40 sales calls in the first couple quarters. So this is what your plan might look like when you put it on paper. Implementing the plan is not going to be easy. And I just like to take a moment to talk about the road to success. Because as entrepreneurs or business people, we all think that success looks something like this. Well, I beg to differ. I think something looks more like that. It's a series of fits and starts, hopefully always going in the right direction. As you move along your marketing plan, there's going to be some setbacks along the way. And remember, success is on the same road as failure. It's just a little further down the road. Don't be discouraged. The failure is an important part, and it's a very key part of success. Without failure, there can be no success. I'm reminded of Thomas Edison. He was developing the light bulb many, many years ago, and after his 500th failed experiment, there was a newspaper reporter who was following his progress. And he went to Mr. Edison. He said, Mr. Edison, after 500 failed attempts, when are you going to give up on this idea of a luminous electric light bulb? Thomas Edison looked at the young reporter, smiled, and this is what he said. Young man, I have not had 500 failures. I have successfully identified 500 ways that will not work, and I am 500 steps closer to the realization of my ideas. It took him another 500 experiments to finally perfect his first successful electric light bulb. But I think his success speaks for itself. Celebrate your failures and what you've learned from them. It's only a failure if you don't learn something. As an entrepreneur, I've come to believe that there are two very additional important P's of marketing, not just product, price, place, and promotion. The other two P's of successful P's of marketing, I believe, are patience and perseverance. Never, never give up. Whatever your venture is, I thank you for joining us today. I wish you great success and much happiness. And now I'll do my best to field your questions, and the ones I do not get to, I will try to answer in the next 24 hours by email. Thank you for your attention.
I'm back. I'm reading some of the questions that the attendees are putting down. One is from R. Hashimoon. His question was, I'm just starting a new service business as a solopreneur. I keep vacillating between being super narrow in my presentation offer and throwing a wide net. I'm concerned about alienating my market. My problem is a crossover consulting service. There's kind of nothing like it out there. So I keep changing the wording of how I present myself. And I was wondering if Peter can get some answer on that.
Well, I can understand your dilemma, because when I was starting out as a marketing consultant back in 1982, I was afraid. I was, who am I going to send my message to? And I decided that my experience and expertise, whatever there was of it, was with B2B people, number one, was with industrial manufacturing companies who had a technology-based product. And I narrowed my focus very, very carefully in areas where I knew I had something to really, really offer them. You can always expand your message later on, but I would encourage you at the beginning to try to, if you come up with a very, very good, unique selling proposition, try to identify those people that will benefit most from that and market to them at first. And if you're finding you're not getting any takers, then you might need to look at maybe expanding it, but I would expand it in increments. Trying to be all things to all people, I think, is very difficult message to get across.
Okay, thank you, Peter. The other one is from Jonathan Irving. How do you determine your competition when you have a product that crosses industries? In my case, it would be a fidget toy that I branded. I believe it to be the new to the industry. Are there any tools that can be used to determine the target markets? My main target market would be the kids, but it could also have appeal to adults as a fidget product novelty gift?
I'm not familiar with the product, and it's very, very difficult for me to give an answer, but I'd like to think on that. And my knee-jerk reaction is if you think you have that product for adults and there's no one's had it before, why not promote it to the adults first? That's just my initial knee-jerk reaction without seeing the product. But I would love to know more, and I'll try to be more specific once I know a little bit more about what you've developed and why you developed it. And that might help me guide you a little bit better.
Thank you, Peter. There's another one from Bradley Monitor. When offering a portion of profit for donation as part of your unique selling advantage, what is the best way? 15 cents per item or 15%? Or is there a better way to state it in your opinion? Mm-hmm. And how would you state that per item, of net sales, etc.?
Oh gosh, for me to answer that in a sensible way, I'd really have to know the price of the product, I think, and what the product is, and who your market is, because I think different messages will resonate differently with different people. But I do agree that there is a selection that would resonate best. I just can't tell you which one it is right now. But again, if you would like to write, I will be happy to see if I can't get my colleagues at SCORE. As Boris mentioned, we have 130 right here in our Norwalk Fairfield branch, and see if we can't come up with the formula, if you will, that we feel might resonate best with your target market.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Thank you, gentlemen.
One from Hallie Pika. Can you show slide number 47 again? He could get creative with his marketing. Parents stealing the product from their kids. I would love to know more as well. Please send me a link to this product. HPICARELO@me.com.
Boris, please forgive me. I'm trying to get back to slide 47.
Okay.
So I can understand the question in the context of the slide. And I have to increment one slide at a time, but I'm almost there. And could you repeat the question, please?
Okay. Can you show slide number 47? Mm-hmm. He could get creative. I guess it's the person that had the previous question. It's sort of an answer from this attendee, Hallie Pika. He could get creative with his marketing. Parents stealing the product from their kids. I would love to know more as well. Please send me a link to this product. HPICARELO@me.com.
Boris, I'm afraid I'm not. We're out of time, and I'm not able to answer that now. But if I will take that message, and if you give me the email of the person who sent it, I'll see if I can't find a way to respond in a positive manner.
Okay. There is another and the last question. How can I reach out to Peter to provide more information on my product? Hallie.
I believe you're going to give them my email address, Bart?
No, I don't think I had, but I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, feel free to give them my email address. I'll be happy to respond to anybody who has a question. Okay.
For everybody, Peter's email is peter@mainly-marketing.com, lowercase. I think our time is almost over. And thank you very much, Peter, for your presentation. It was great.
Thank you, Boris, and thank you, everyone, for your attention.
Yes, I'd just like to say a couple of reminders. The recording of this webinar and the materials are available in a couple of days on fairfieldcounty.score.org website. Also, please check our website for information on upcoming webinars. And as far as the individual counseling, please go onto our website and click on Request a Mentor. We're available for sessions via phone, email, and video. And all our services are free of charge. And lastly, please fill out your evaluations that have been sent at the end of our webinar. And on the behalf of SCORE, I would like to thank all of you for attending today's SCORE live webinar. My big thanks to Peter for presenting today, and Budley Webinar, the webinar coordinator. And well, have a nice of the rest of the day, everyone. Stay safe and well. Thank you.